Nice. Thanks for playing around with my stuff. So you have your sheet. Today we're going on to ellipses, the middle part of that section. Shh. So I wrote up here all the information you need about the ellipses in addition to having it on your sheet. It's just easier if I have it up here. If you look, these two are the basic forms for the equations on the sheet in the middle. And you'll notice they both have, and just like for the equation of a line, for the equation of a circle, for the equation of a parabola, they both have x's and y's in them. When you write the equation for an ellipse, the x and the y stay in the equation. The only thing you need are this a squared and b squared. The x squared and the y squared equals 1. That stays in the equation. Now, those a and b, here's where they come from. Do you notice over there in purple it says A is always bigger? Ooh, that one's a little off, but that's okay. A is always bigger. What the A and B represent, the A and the B represent the x-intercepts and the y-intercepts. And remember, A is always the bigger one. So here, this is A and negative A. This distance. And this distance, B and negative B. Those are just the values that go underneath the x squared and the y squared, if you square them, right? On the sideways. On the up and down, remember A is always bigger. I did a really bad job on this one. This is supposed to be equal. There's A. There's negative A. This is B. This is negative B. And again, those are the values that go underneath the x and the y. Square those, they go underneath the x and the y. So over here, when it says write the equation of the ellipse and it gives you the x and the y intercepts, well, the basic equation is going to be this: x squared over something plus y squared over something equals 1. It's going to be a lot easier than all that parabola jazz, right? What goes underneath here? Underneath the x squared goes the x-intercept squared. I've got root 2 and negative root 2. Does it matter which one I use? No, because I'm squaring it, right? And underneath the y goes the y-intercept squared. And again, it doesn't matter which one I use because I'm squaring it, right? So what's the equation going to be? What's root 2 squared? 2. And what's 3 squared? And that's all you have to do to write the equation of the ellipse. Isn't that easy? Isn't that easy? What about if I ask you to go the other way? What about if I give you x squared over 49 plus y squared over 81 equals 1? And what if I ask you what are the x-intercepts? 7 and -7. What if I ask you, what are the y-intercepts?
9 and -9.
9 and -9. Isn't that part easy? Anybody with questions about this stuff? Not too bad. Anybody with questions? Well, then the other part, they give you something and they ask you to write it in the correct form for the equation of an ellipse. So that means you have to take this thing and you have to get it to look like the equation for an ellipse. Remember, we've done that for circles so far. We completed the square and completed the square again. We just got done doing it for parabolas. Remember, you completed the square and you moved some stuff over, you divided. Remember? Well, now we're going to get the equation, this, to somehow look like something like one of these. No matter what, look over here. What does it have to equal?
1.
What does it have to equal?
1.
What does the equation for any ellipse always have to equal?
1.
So that's where I would start. If it doesn't equal 1, then make it equal to 1 by dividing by whatever is over there. And don't forget, you're going to have to divide everything, right? When you do that, you can reduce this, right? 4 goes in there, 4 goes in there. So won't I have x squared over 16? Y squared over equals 1. So just for the heck of it, what are the x-intercepts? 4 and -4. What are the y-intercepts? 8 and -8. Well, we've got the first thing done. We found the correct equation. All we had to do was divide by 64 and reduce. That was easy, right, Jack? That was easy, right, Will?
Yeah.
That was easy, right, Sam? Now we need to find the foci. Oh boy. The foci I didn't mention yet. There's some points in here, and they're a C value. You know, just like the parabola over here had a focus inside there, well, similarly, the ellipse has a C value and a negative C, and those are called the focus points, the foci. Well, in order to get the foci, you need to know if it's up and down or sideways. In either case, we're going to need the C value. But how are we going to tell if it's up and down or sideways? I'll give you a hint. It's going to have something to do with the A is always bigger than B. Look at this equation. A is always bigger than B. A is always bigger than B. Can you tell me which one of these is the A squared then?
Is it Y?
It's got to be this one, right?
Yeah.
So it's up and down.
Oops. And what did you say, Maddie?
It's up and down.
Why is it up and down? Because up and down has the A squared under the Y. The big one, remember A is always bigger, so this one has the bigger value underneath the Y squared, and if it was sideways, the bigger value would be underneath the X squared, right? Up and down, think about that. The bigger value goes underneath the Y squared. So you know this one is up and down. And it says therefore in up and down, the foci are at 0, negative C, 0, C. Either case, we need to find the C. How are we going to find the C?
With the equation thing?
Which one?
With b squared.
Right. And notice, it doesn't matter which one you're talking about, sideways or up and down. Both of them are b squared equals a squared minus c squared. B squared equals a squared minus c squared. So over here, we're going to take the b squared equals a squared minus c squared. You know the b squared, don't you?
Yeah.
What is it?
16.
B squared is 16. You know the a squared, 64. Can you solve her? I would minus 64. And you get negative c squared equals 48, I think. So if negative c squared is negative 48, positive c squared is positive 48. And then what will you do to finish her up?
Square root.
Square root, square root. Square root of 48, which I think is 16 times 3. If I simplify, isn't that 4 roots of 3? So then what are my foci? I have 0, negative 4 roots of 3, and I have 0, positive 4 roots of 3. So it asked for the foci, got those. Asked for the equation, got that. In the book, it actually says to graph it. And back in the old days, we would actually have a piece of graph paper and we would graph this. But it takes a while. These don't take as long. They're actually pretty quick. But in this day and age of Desmos.com, everybody's got a Chromebook. You have access to graph of these very quickly. So today, I'm not going to make you graph them unless you finish the assignment. Then you can go to Desmos.com and graph all you want. Isn't that fun? Isn't that exciting? Do you have a question?
No questions.
Are there any questions? Does anyone have a question? I have a question. Do you have to? Page 421. Listen for a minute. OE.
Oh,
I want you to just give me, listen up. For the OE, I want you to just give me the X and Y intercepts. Not the other thing. I can't remember what else it asked for. Just the X and Y intercepts right here. Don't graph it. I want you to write the equation like we did up here, and then give the foci like we did up here. Those are my directions. Got it? Got it? Got it? I don't know if they got it.
I think we got
Do
it.
you have questions?
I can ask them.
Oh, thank you.
Very welcome.